So let's talk about, I think, what was the hot news today, and that was Jerome Powell's speech. As I pull this up, did you have a chance to kind of give our audience this is what happened today?
Yeah, so Federal Chairman Powell announced a 0.25% rate hike in the interest rate. So we're at 5.25 for the bank rate now. That's the rate that the Fed charges banks to borrow money. So obviously, when the price of money goes up to banks, and guess what happens to our loans? They go up as well. In fact, they don't always go in lockstep percentage-wise. It's often more. So what does this mean to you? That means if you have revolving credit like consumer credit cards, they're going to go up. You know, the interest rate on adjustable rate mortgages is going to go up. And I guess Powell thinks that he's still trying to get a hold of the inflation that's cycling through our economy, all the extra money that's been out there for so long. Unfortunately, by doing this, he's increasing the stagnation of our economy as well. And things are already starting to slow down from an economic standpoint, in a very serious way. And I don't know if you want to talk about the banks, Matt, at this point.
Let me play this quick clip. It's 1:45. It actually brings up something that's has to do with the inflation rate, but also this looming debt ceiling that we're starting to hit. And it is polarizing of like, are we going to increase the debt ceiling and whatnot? I thought it was fast. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this really short clip.
I'm wondering if you can talk about the account of possible effects of a debt limit standoff. You've said repeatedly that the ceiling must be raised, but do you see any economics effects of even getting close to a default? And what type of situation would that look like?
So I wouldn't want to speculate specifically, but I will say this. These are fiscal policy matters for starters, and they're for Congress and the administration, for the elected parts of the government to deal with, and they're really consigned to them. From our standpoint, I would just say this: it's essential that the debt ceiling be raised in a timely way, so that the U.S. government can pay all of its bills when they're due. A failure to do that would be unprecedented. We'd be in uncharted territory, and the consequences to the U.S. economy would be highly uncertain and could be quite averse. So I'll just leave it there. We don't give advice to either side. We just would point out that it's very important this be done. And the other point I'll make about that, though, is that no one should assume that the Fed can protect the economy from the potential, short and long-term effects of a failure to pay our bills on time. It would be so uncertain that it's just as important that we never get to a place where we're actually talking about or even having a situation where the U.S. government's not paying its bills. And
just to follow up, was discussion around the uncertainty of a possible standoff, did that affect today's monetary policy decision at all?
I wouldn't say that it did. It was, of course, it's something that came up. We talk a lot about risks to the outlook, and that come up. A number of people did raise that as a risk to the outlook. I wouldn't say that it was important in today's monetary policy decision yet.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jerome Powell, ladies and gentlemen. Todd, what do you think, man?
Well, I don't know. I mean, here we are again. The debt ceiling. So it's been raised. I heard today that it's been raised over 100 times since World War II. So it really isn't a ceiling. It's more like a sunroof. So it's like a sunroof on your car. And right. So I don't think it's a ceiling at all. And honestly, it's become a joke. I mean, the reality is there is a ceiling. And the ceiling is that the government gets in so much debt that it can't service the interest.
Right.
And what do you do when we can't service the interest? Somebody's got to go bankrupt.
Right. Yeah. So my take is this is not news. This is repeat of history. And the only concern we have is this the straw that breaks the camel's back? I would say in the next year, no. I think we'll survive a debt ceiling increase. Our debtors aren't going to get that worried about it. This is not new territory, both for the lenders of government debt, and it's also not new territory for the Fed.
Yeah.
So, but it's not their job. Like Jerome Powell said, it's not their job to weigh in on this either.
It's not our
And,
job.
Even
not
though
our
we
job
did
to worry
kind of
about
weigh
this.
in on it.
You know, these guys are holding hands behind the camera. The government and the Fed, you know, are holding hands under the camera, because the reality is they support each other.
Totally.
Without the Federal Reserve, the government could not borrow, at least at the extent that it has over the last 130 years or 120 years since 1913 when it was organized. But you know, without the government giving a monopoly to the Federal Reserve System for central banking, they wouldn't have a job. I mean, this is really simple, and I know this sounds remarkably stupid, but it's our own fault this has happened. I was thinking about this the other day. Everybody's pointing fingers at the government, everybody's pointing fingers at the Fed. But did you know the Congress has the right to pull the charter, to revoke the banking charter for the Federal Reserve? They have the power. The people have the power to revoke that right for them to run that bank. So you know, either it's going to come because of a major collapse of the banking system, or somebody's going to get smart, and maybe the public will get smart to the fact that we just need something different. And the Federal Reserve System is broke, and so is the government. They're both broke. One's broke because their system is broke, and the other one, the federal government, is broke. We're broke. We're out of money.
We're kicking the cans down the road.
Yeah, it's a joke. And with AI,
So I
we're
think,
going to talk about AI. You know, people are going to get smart to how things are really ran when AI kicks in, and people are actually start answering some really intelligent questions with this AI. Just hit me. More and more information is going to go to the average person, and they're going to realize what a scam this has been for the last 120 years.
Agreed. One of the things I'd like to segue into is the impact that today we had a 1/4 point increase in interest rates. Jerome Powell quote said, we still have a long way to go. This has been a repetitive thing he's been saying since the beginning of the year. And we've seen bank after bank after bank fail. And we even put together a program to backstop the banks. And we just had another bank fail. JP Morgan Chase just bought First Republic after default. It got all the benefits, but none of the risks, right?
Oh, they picked it apart. They got the positive assets and the crappy assets.
Oh yeah.
Left on the
Oh
table.
yeah. They let all the other stuff default and they didn't have to take any of that. It's crazy how this works. But I want to show you this, Todd. This is really interesting. I got a tip on banks, and it's probably the largest bank that has me personally shifting a change in my portfolio. Meaning, like, I've been really conservative. There's still been some equities and things that I've been holding on to, you know, in hopes that like this recession would flip around. Maybe we're hitting a bottom. And for me, I think this was the data that kind of sealed the deal. So for those of our viewers watching, I would highly recommend that you do some research on this data. We're about to go into banks and bank stocks and what's happened to banks today. And it's not just small banks. Like, big banks have been reacting to the failures that are going on, and it just it doesn't end. So here's just a real basic one. I think everyone will appreciate this. This is just a simple chart that shows the bank stocks normalized as of last month. So this is like, a couple days old, but this gets us really close. And you can just see how the percent, this is based on percentage increase or decrease in the overall market cap, right? And the overall asset price of the banks. And these are not, tiny banks, but they are more regional sized banks. You got Western Alliance, Zions, Charles, Huntington, and Pacific West, right? All of which have had significant drops. Pacific West being one of the largest, 26% decline as a regional bank. So you think, oh, well, these assets are obviously moving into like the bigger banks. We just got big bank cash reports back from last quarter, and all of them seem to be at or even above what was forecasted. And so a lot of people are saying, no, we've hit the bottom. This is a great time to buy into banks. And yet big banks had a similar problem.
Yeah. So
We're seeing big banks.
Yeah. So 20 to 50% of the community banks and the regional banks hold anywhere from 32 to 43% of their assets in commercial real estate.
Bingo. So the problem isn't real estate this time. The problem isn't you, the consumer, who's been managing their debt fairly, getting more increases in wages, maybe taking on a second job. It's not actually the biggest problem isn't you. It's CRE. It's commercial real estate. And the holdings, I think it's actually, if you were to look and do some research, if you own or are in part own any part of a bank stock, I would be looking really closely at how much of that's commercial, and primarily not like residential commercial, not like multifamily commercial, but like actual like office space, warehouse space commercial.
Yeah.
And another big one would be like anything ancillary to that, anything that would be like a holding loan, or loans that are, gap loans between like getting a project done, or a construction loan. Like you want to be looking at those loans also when you're examining banks right now. But I've been pretty bearish on banks since the beginning of the year. And I don't think that run is over based on what we're seeing today.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, when you say it's not the public, well, everything comes down to the individual, right? The reason why the commercial real estate is doing so bad is because the vacancy rates are so high. They're not getting leases signed. And if you're not getting leases signed, it's because businesses aren't starting, or businesses have gone away. And if businesses have gone away, it's because people aren't starting businesses. If people aren't starting
and there's a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that, but I'll to not repeat some of the things we've talked about before. One of the things I heard today that was an interesting piece of intel from someone who is highly involved in Utah tech is companies are not hiring right now. And their reason is they are actually discovering this technology in AI. They're unlocking its power. And they're going, I don't have to hire another person. I don't have to go through all that work. I just need to train this individual how to use AI. And now I'm getting 2 employees for the cost of 1. And I can give him a little increase in his rate. Like I can pay him more for learning how to do this, right? Or I can, incentivize him somehow for taking on the extra work. And a lot of these CEOs are getting really smart, and they're seeing, I shouldn't be hiring anyone right now. If anything, I should be letting people go and minimizing and capitalizing on this new technology, or just at a minimum, capitalizing on the technology and putting resumes on the shelf right now.
Yeah. Well, it's got to go one of 2 ways, right? You either increase your efficiency using AI. And I think the timeline for that is probably less than a year. I think maybe 6 months to a year, we're going to see, 2 years. Within 2 years, we're going to see a compression of about 30% of the knowledge workers that are no longer needed. So what happens there is you have a dislocation, and those people have got to either get more efficient using AI, or they're going to lose their jobs.
Yeah. Did I share or show you this clip, this JSON clip around the new release that just happened in OpenAI?
Yeah.
Did we talk about that? I think
I watched it in my car.
Did you?
I've been busy this afternoon. Yeah.
I know.
I watched it while I was driving my car.
Well, confessions of Todd.
So I'll do my best to comment on it. But yeah, so are you going to show that, or would you just want
I found this really cool clip. I'm going to show these guys this. And this is just a mobile version of this. So it's going to look kind of weird because of that. but I want everyone to see this clip that Jason did. And just to give him credit, this is, he's got a podcast called Startups. And this is, the topic is code interpreter. So for those of you who are following the AI movement, the biggest move that's happened in AI this week is this AI plugin called Code Interpreter. And it is mind-blowing. Guys, our version of Auto AI that we deployed last week, it has this in it, the ability to read codes, analyze code, read files, give you feedback. But that was something we had to deploy. You know, it involved a coder. You had to have some programmers. You had to be pretty highly sophisticated in terms of like understanding technology. Well, guess what? If you have an OpenAI subscription, it just released. So you may have to get on the waiting list, but you got to see this video. Watch this, guys. And this is just fascinating. And I found a really short clip of this. Can you see this all right?
Yeah.
All right, so here we go.
ChatGPT users now have access to a code interpreter plugin.
You can take a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet can have data in it. You can upload it, and then you can basically have a ChatGPT do some basic data science for you.
So what producer Nick gave us was the electric vehicle population data, and it figured out what's in there, and it's reflecting that back to you in plain English.
What I'm showing here is the prompt where it's loaded it into a Python library called Pandas, which is what a lot of data scientists would use to start analyzing data.
So there was a little carrot there that said, show the work. Some ChatGPT users now have access to a code interpreter plugin.
You can take a spreadsheet.
Right,
that spreadsheet can have data.
So I just am giving people a sniff, but basically what he did and what you're able to do on this chat interpreter is you're able to put in a file now. So next to where you hit submit, like you'd ask ChatGPT a question or have it write you an article or whatever you're using it for. Now you have a place you can insert a CSV file, any type of file actually, and runs it through Python, takes all the information out. And I'm just going to put this out there for you guys as like the carrot. It pulls the data in, tells you what the data means. You don't even have to tell it like, hey, this is a Excel sheet about auto information or electric vehicles. It pulled that automatically, and then it spit back like 5 charts. And it was like, hey, this data point's interesting, this data point's interesting, this data point's interesting. And then you can interact with it. You can say, well, examine this and this, enter, boom, 2 charts pop up. So, I mean, what does this mean to the world, Todd? Like, what are we talking about? What disruption did OpenAI just unleash through a simple plugin?
So you may, people that have never programmed before, right? People that have never done programming before may not realize how amazing this is. So when he uploaded the spreadsheet, he didn't ask it to make a program to open it up and then at that point analyze it. He just loaded it up, right? And so what's weird is that ChatGPT just said, well, okay, I'm going to write a program. I'm going to write a Python script that will allow me to run it and open up the data file, and then I'm going to parse through it, and I'm going to use some basic analytics, or some what data scientists use, some basic analytical tools to give some results. And if a data scientist, I've done these reports, I've written in Python to do this. And yeah, even the most experienced programmers in Python, just to understand what you want to get out of it takes hours.
I know.
This is you're looking at maybe a couple hours, maybe a day's worth of work for an average intelligent data science person to go in and figure out, it's not such a big deal to pull the data out, but it's a big deal trying to decide what you want to look for and then how you want to display it. And ChatGPT just did it like it was no big deal. So it's amazing to me because I know how hard this really is.
Yeah, so I want to show these guys it really quick because it's like talking about it. I just saw like our viewers aren't getting this, but this is what Mark Cuban said 2 years ago. would eliminate data scientists. He said AI will eventually get to the point that it eliminates data scientists. Well, that day is today. Now, obviously, you got to get on a waiting list, but it's happened, guys. And our auto agent does this. It also does web search. It also does task lists. But I would predict, and hold me to this in a couple of weeks, Todd, I would predict that web search happens this week. There's I just know by the end of the week, there'll be a web search API for OpenAI. And I bet in 2 or 3 weeks, there'll be a task management God mode AI capability that's an API plugin.
Yeah,
it's just going to happen.
Well, what's nice about this is that you got some intelligent, it's not just searching the web for you, right? It's intelligent searching over the web with multiple subtasks that are automatically created. And so you're going to likely, when you search on the search engines right now, you get a list of potential hits of what you typed in, but you spend so much time just going through all the different hits to see what's relevant. Well, now it's going to find the most relevant information and bring it forward and present it to you. This is going to save a ton of time for searching the web.
Check
You're
this
going to see
out.
browsers that are completely AI based. And I'm not going to
So let's do this. Yeah, let's play this.
Win.
I'd love to get your feedback.
I do that. And
So
fascinating.
just so you guys
When it
know,
did
this is the
yours,
same
for me,
video, but
it did a
much
different
later.
response to the same data,
So just watch what happens.
which is really interesting. Like ChatGPT 4 told me the data set contains information about electric vehicles, with each row representing a specific electric vehicle. The columns in the data set are as follows, and it did it 1 through 10. It actually gave me a list of them, which is really like a totally more helpful response. That's very fascinating that we had 2 different experiences.
And that's sort of the nature of LLMs that can happen. But this next question, which I'm putting down in the prompt, so I'll read to everyone, says, can you conduct whatever visualizations and descriptive analysis you think would help me understand the data? Because I have this, producer Nick sent us this file. And so now let's see what it does in this next phase here. And so what it's starting to tell us is, we'll look at the following aspects of the data: distribution of electric vehicle types, battery electric vehicles versus plug-in electric vehicles, that's BEV versus PHEV, top 10 most popular electric vehicle makes and models, distribution of the vehicles by year.
Right. So I'm gonna pause it. I'm just going to scroll ahead so these guys can see a visual of like what it cranks out. So look at this, guys. Within minutes, look what it pulls out. You're going to see visuals. It creates this chart. It creates another chart showing Tesla and all compared to all the other EVs that are out there. It does some cross data distribution of electric vehicles from model year. It does graphic distribution of electric vehicles by state. Like it just keeps going and going. And 2 different users got 2 different sets of information because the AI went kind of a different direction. So you could run this, just ask for suggestions, and it's going to pierce into data sets in a way you never could. Imagine what you could do with this, guys, in your trading. Like take your TD Ameritrade account or take your, Interactive Brokers account or wherever you have your brokerage. Download your CSV file from the last year, throw it in this and ask it to make recommendations. And just that data alone would be like paying for thousands of dollars and having someone professional go through this with you. Like just that data alone. So mind blowing, like, right? We're talking massive movement.
But you know that the financial analysts are going to use this too. I mean, people are still going to be paying financial analysts to give them advice until everybody gets smart to what's really happening. This is the knowledge workers that learn to grab AI, like a financial analyst, are going to do really well. If they grab AI, they're going to be able to do sharp work really quick. They're going to be able to increase their productivity by at least 30%.
Yeah, this is incredible. I've heard it said, and I'll say it: if you are in a white collar job, sitting in a chair somewhere, and you are not in AI, you're going to be out of a job in the next 2 years, period.
Yeah.
And I'm making those, they're not threats. I wouldn't even say they're empty threats, but I'm making those promises to even our elected officials right now. It's like you will be outdated
Yeah.
by the ones who are, because they're going to use this for their campaigns. They're going to use this for fundraising. They're going to use this for everything. And
Yeah.
frankly, you'll just get left behind.
Yeah.
So young bucks, this is your opportunity to disrupt the market and actually step in and get a piece. I have old guys who are attorneys and white collar workers are like, oh, I'm just going to do it the old way for the rest of my life. And it's like, cool, you got 2 years. Right.
Yeah, well, us old guys can learn new tricks too. So, the thing is, the old people that are still in the workforce like me, yeah, you better grab onto this. I mean, this is the advantage is really going to go to the people that know how to ask the questions, and people that are older ask better questions. So AI I think is going to help the person that already has a brain full of intelligence from maybe 50, 60 years of life versus somebody that's only got 30 years of life. So we're going to be able to ask better questions, and we're going to get more advantage from AI than I think the young bucks like you.
We'll see, Todd.
Better question. Jump out, garbage in, garbage out.
I'm putting my bets on the young bucks.
No, they're not going to get nearly the leverage us old people are on this one. This is fantastic.
Let's end on this note really quick. I'm going to bring up our ChatGPT, or excuse me, our not ChatGPT, our day trade GPT. Just get this in really quick. I want to show you guys. So this has the same capabilities that we've got. That actually Auto is using right now. It has the ability to go out and read a file, digest a spreadsheet, and tell you what to do with it. We deployed this pre the API release that actually happened today. My prediction is the other two pieces that will happen is the task management that we put into this, and also the ability to go search the web. And that's actually how we're using it to search files. But I want to just unlock this for you really quick since we've got an extra couple minutes here, Todd. And I want you guys to see how this can search the web, since that's kind of the last, one of the last straws that hasn't been developed yet for the general public. So we're going to call this search the web. And what I want you guys to do is think about what you do when you're trading and investing. Like, what websites do you go to? Where do you analyze your data? I have a kind of a morning routine where I open up, see my hot list of all the stocks and entities, because I want to see kind of where the morning's going. Typically, I'll run through economic calendars. Doesn't matter. You could have it do any of those things. So you could say go to, and I actually prefer the search term. It's important to know how to cue this. But when you want it to open something on the web, you need to ask it to open a browser or open a web browser. And then it will know oh, we're searching the web. That's my cue. So just tell it to open a web browser and open a web browser and look and go to, I don't know, or somewhere that you like to go online for financial information, Todd.
And you could go to forexfactory.com.
All right, forexfactory.com, and give me the top, I don't know, let's call it top 5 movers today. We hit deploy. It's going to do the one thing.
That's a pretty movers. So let's see what it does with the word movers.
So it's using Selenium to open a web driver to open the web. It's going to navigate to forexfactory.com, and then it's going to scrape data for the top 5 movers. It's gone through, setting it up.
It's going to come back with U-Haul.
U-Haul. Wait,
you type movers, the 5 top movers. It's going to come back with an ad from U-Haul.
No. Let's see if it figures it out. There we go.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, there you go. So you're a U.S. GDP, British pound, U.S. Aussie second or third, excuse me, the NZD, USD, and then USD Canada. And
Wow.
these are probably in order. Like you could probably go and check it. Here it is again, but not with the percentages. I actually like the first one. This is what God mode's all about, guys, is it just keeps churning and churning and churning and iterating until it feels like it's hit the goal. But that's a fun one. Let's give them one more. What's a way you would modify this, Todd? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go bigger. I'm gonna say like
maybe you
let's go
can
to
look at,
trading view.
maybe if you
Let's go
look
to
at the economic calendar,
trading.com. Oh yeah, we could do that.
I wonder
I'm
if
gonna do this
I wonder if it'll actually figure out how to go through the different dates of, say, like you said, like the non-farm payrolls report or something. See if it could go back like the last 3 months and pull.
Yeah, let's go open a web browser, go to Market Watch, and look for most important announcements for the USA.
So as you're preparing your trading day, one of the things you want to do first is fundamental analysis. And this is a great tool for getting a feel of what the market tone is for, say, the Euro USD. So these are great questions to start the day, to just prepare for what you think, what you're planning on as far as the direction of that currency pair before you start trading. So this is a great tool for fundamental analysis. Unbelievable.
I didn't put it today. Look at what it's done. It's like found the major announcements back in July, June. So it's important to be specific.
Yeah.
If you just say go to Market Watch and look for them, it's like, all right, for all time, I'll look. Make sure you say today or today's date. That would help a lot.
Yeah.
I think we're there. We'll call this a wrap up. Any questions or comments in the audience you want to highlight before we get off, Todd?
No, I don't see any questions today. It's pretty quiet. Must be entertaining.
Good. Well, we'll see these guys same time, same place next Wednesday. If you're on tonight, Friday mornings, we have a webinar that we do for an hour long. That's a recap of the whole week. So you can get us in our highlights. You can watch the video after. We're on YouTube. Trader Pulse Podcast is our handle. And Traders
Pulse 101.
Yep. And that's how we're actually ranking so well, you can just type in Traders Pulse now.
Right.
But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for being on here. Have a great night. And good to see you, Todd.
Good to see you, Matt. Thanks, everybody.